So now we're going to look at the second part of this right here, and we are going to do functional notation for the two functions that we graphed in the previous video. So let's look at the first one. Our first function is this one right here. Find f of -2, f of 0, and f of 2. Now recall before, whenever we had to find functional notation, we just plugged in whatever was in our parentheses here into the x value of our function. Here, however, we have to be more careful. We have to choose the proper piece to put it into. All right, so let's start with f of -2 in the very first function. And -2, we have to look over here on the right-hand side and determine, is -2 greater than 0? Or is -2 less than 0? Since -2 is less than 0, we plug it into this piece, into the x squared piece. So that becomes -2 squared, which of course has a y value of 4. All right. And that corresponds to the point, -2, 4. If we were to look back on our graph, we would see that -2, 4 is actually a point on the graph. All right, now let's go to f of 0 for that same one. All right, so looking up here, is 0 greater than or equal to 0, or is 0 less than 0? Well, 0 is equal to 0, so we want to choose the first piece to plug it into. So it's going to go into 2x minus 1. So we'll have 2 times 0 minus 1, which gives us a -1. And we don't have to write the point every time. That was just kind of demonstrating. But 0, -1 would be a point on the graph. All right, now f of 1. Again, let's choose the proper piece up here. So is 1 greater than 0 or is 1 less than 0? Well, 1 is certainly greater than or equal to 0. So again, we're going to use the first piece. 2 times 1 minus 1 is 2 minus 1, which gives us an answer of 1. And then let's do f of 2. Again, choose the right piece. So let's see, is 2 greater than 0 or is 2 less than 0? 2 is greater than 0, so again, we'll use the first piece. 2 times 2 minus 1 is 4 minus 1, or 3. So that's the functional values for the very first function. Let's do it now for the second function, and I'll kind of label this here for the first function. Now let's do the second function. All right, so let's find f of -2 to begin with. And let's look back here. All right, so -2, is -2 less than -1? Well, it is. Now notice that it will only fit one of them. It won't fit any more than one. So -2 does not belong between -1 and 1, and -2 is not greater than 1. So it's only going to suit one of them. So -2 is less than -1. We're going to use this piece to plug into. So we're going to plug in a -x plus 1. Now be careful, because that's really -2 when we plug in for the x there, plus 1, which gives us +2 plus 1, or an answer of 3. All right, so now let's do the next value, f of 0. So if we look, 0 is not less than -1, so it doesn't belong there, but 0 is in between -1 and 1. So we're going to choose this one to plug into. Now notice there's no x to plug into, which means our answer is just 3. All right, so f of 0 is 3. Well, let's find f of 1. All right, so 1 is certainly not less than -1. 1, is it between -1 and 1? But let's notice this also means equal to 1 as well. So 1 is equal to 1, so it's in this middle piece. Notice it's not greater than 1, so we're not going to choose that piece. But because of that equal sign, 1 is equal to 1, we're going to choose this piece, which is 3 again. And finally, let's find f of 2. If we look at this, let's see, 2 is not less than -1. 2 is not between -1 and 1. 2 is greater than 1. So since 2 is greater than 1, we'll plug it into here. We'll have the square root of 2. And let me insert a square root symbol. And if we want to, if our question is asking us for the decimal approximation of that, we can get it. But otherwise, we can just write our answer as the square root of 2. I think the answer as a decimal would be 1.4 something. Just a note that you must plug into the proper piece on a test. If you plug into all of the pieces, it will be counted entirely wrong. The whole point is that you must realize which piece to plug it into.